So we'll go ahead and get started. So if you are looking for the session on how to run a safe chapter, you are in the right place. Congratulations. A+ to you all. So we'll introduce ourselves first. I don't know, some of you guys may have heard of me, seen me in other events, but my name is Lindsey Carr. I am currently Grand Marshal of the fraternity. I've been volunteering since 2016. I graduated in 2015 from Virginia Commonwealth, which is Kappa Gamma chapter. I currently work at AMF Bakery Systems in Richmond, Virginia, as an electrical engineer, working in the food industry, manufacturing, all that stuff. So it's fun.
And I am Jennifer Kreiman. I'm the Director of Chapter Services. I am not a member of Theta Tau, but I did attend Kettering University, so I have a lot of experience in working with engineers. My best friend is one. I married one. But I'm not going to tell you when I graduated because I'm your mother's age, at least. All right, we're going to try something. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'd like you to go ahead and follow these directions and then type in just a word or two about some unsafe situations that you might have encountered during your membership. And if this works, a word cloud will start populating.
I'm like super pumped for this.
I tested it and it worked. So let's see if it actually works. Can you see how it says no responses received yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll put the instructions back up so you can see those. And then once it starts, it'll tell me when some results come in and I'll put up the word cloud then.
And I guess just for clarity, these responses, I believe, are anonymous, yes?
Oh yeah, I can't see anything.
Okay. Yeah. It asks for your name, but we don't see those.
No.
And welcome to the new people that have joined us. If you guys can follow the instructions, we're looking for unsafe situations you've encountered while a member. And it can be anything.
Oh. So there, roof hanging.
Ooh, there we go. This is cool.
It really is.
Now I'm like super curious with the parentheses. Because it doesn't take the whole message. It's just pulling using an algorithm, looks like.
All right, we'll give it a few more seconds and then we will screenshot this, somebody. Lindsay, can you do that so we can
Yes.
put it there?
I, I like that it said drinking rocks. It looked like it was just one word, and I was very confused for a second. Oh, but I'm seeing a theme. Okay. You want me to get a screenshot of this?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. I really appreciate that. We had 9 people send in responses, and it looks like drinking and alcohol and tradition are uh, are some of the major unsafe situations that you're finding yourselves in.
Okay. So, uh, basically, what we're going to be talking about during this session is what to do before an incident, after an incident, and making sure everyone's responsible and accountable. So mainly, be prepared. We're going to ask for examples often because this is the fun session, our favorite. But because we have limited time, we'll only take one example for kind of each situation. And to kind of help think about what you might be able to share, we'll be discussing things that include alcohol and substance abuse, or just substance use, hazing, sexual conduct or misconduct, medical emergencies, and peer pressure. And then we're gonna kind of go through this a bit quickly until we get to the mitigation strategies, because that's kind of the most important part. And this is the bulk of what we want you to walk away with. So we want you to be sure we have enough time to cover that content and allow for questions at the end. So, all right. So before an incident, your alumni have experiences that can really help your chapter. There's a level of training and life experiences that chapter members haven't had yet, just by virtue of age. So knowing your chapter advisors is one of the first things you can do. Developing relationships with your chapter advisor and your regional director, knowing who they are is super important. Plus, they're going to be super happy to talk to you, even if you're not an officer. So make sure all of your members are aware of who they are as well. Get familiar with the PPM, the Policies and Procedures Manual. I can tell you there's a ton of information in it, more than anyone can remember. I don't remember all of it, but especially at least not on one read through. So it takes regular review, putting those procedures into practice in your chapter, and making sure it's easily accessible. It can be found on the website, so if you need help finding it, just let us know. So all of the resources, all of these resource documents that you need are available on our website, which is just thetata.org. It's in the screenshot. You can kind of see the URL for it. And I would highly recommend bookmarking it to your browser. RM policies, the even more fun stuff. So if you're an officer, you should be aware of what the risk management policies are. They boil down to, or they're also on the website, right? And again, if you're not sure where to find them, just let us know. But as an officer, even just as a regular member, you should have signed them every year at the beginning of the year, the academic year. And it basically talks about what you can and cannot do as a member. It includes things or policies on hosting events, member officer responsibilities. So members have a general responsibility to the chapter of mitigating risk, and officers have a higher standard of responsibility because they're elected officers. There's also policies on hazing, abusive behavior, and controlled substances. So the hazing is pretty self-explanatory. Don't haze people, please. And then abusive behavior and controlled substances, specifically the controlled substances, there's sections on what's allowed at social events For example, no common source of alcohol can be present at a social event. Um, if you are serving alcohol, it must be done through a third party. So it's all kind of outlined in those risk management policies. If you ever have questions on those, please let us know. Contact your regional director or contact Health and Safety Committee, and we can kind of help you out with those.
All right, we're going to move on to the university resources and how they can help you. But I'm going to let you know that I'm going to ask for someone to share about university resources and how they were helpful to your chapter. I can't see the chat, so Lindsey is going to have to help me with that. But I wanted to give you time to put that in there because I know sometimes it takes a minute to get that typed. So all of the staff, faculty, and offices listed on this slide have a deep knowledge of the resources that are offered on your campus. These are people who have made a conscious choice to work on a college campus, and most are very dedicated to serving the collegiate community. They really want to help, and most of the time you just need to ask. So go to these places, meet the people there, talk to them for a few minutes about the resources that they offer and how you can get those resources for the chapter. Stop back in a couple times a semester so they get to know you. Invite them to a chapter meeting so the chapter can learn about those resources. And if you're an officer, when you're training your successor, take them to these places and introduce them. This is about relationship development so that when you need these resources and these relationships, they're already in place. Lindsey, has anybody shared a story about how those helped?
No, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, if something comes up, we'll come back to it. How about that? Okay, so I want to show you an example of how a lot of college websites are not intuitive. So this is from Michigan State, and I wanted information on the mental health services and campus security. So they're on this page, their campus life page. It's about 3/4 of the way down to the bottom of the page, but it's like a scroll, so you couldn't see it. And when I hovered over this link on the home page that said campus life, it actually did not tell me that health, wellness, and safety were options on this page. I had to go looking for them. So the point here I want to make is you have to look for the resources on the campus website, and you can't wait until you need them to try to find them. So take some time and look your campus website over and see what you can find there. So training. So a lot of these training opportunities are self-explanatory, but what we want to do today is focus on fire and safety drills. And these are not just for chapters with houses because emergencies can happen at any time, and the chapter needs to be prepared to respond without panicking. Of course, chapters with houses should have fire, exit, and safety plans posted as required by the local laws. If you don't know what those local laws are, contact your local fire department. They would be really happy to come out and let you know. Some common sense things that chapters with houses can do: keep the stairways and the hallways clear, regularly check your smoke detectors, and do checks of members' rooms to make sure they aren't inadvertently creating a fire hazard. That would be something like plugging an extension cord into a power strip. For everyone, you probably have your meetings in the same place. So I want you to take some time to look at that space with a critical eye. Are there enough exits? If there are 100 of you and only one exit, can you get out of that room in a reasonable time? If not, you might want to consider finding a new room. Is the room set up to provide easy exit? If not, can you rearrange it? Is the room set up to be able to provide cover for you should you need that? If you need to shelter in place, is a room a safe place to shelter? Consider the windows along with your members' safety. If you need to exit the building, Is the room situated in a place that's close to the building exits? And where's the closest landline so you can call campus safety? You're going to hear this from us multiple times tonight. The best way to be prepared is to practice. Have an exit plan. Make sure someone knows where that phone is. Once or twice a semester, practice getting out or fortifying the room or sheltering in place. We don't expect you to know all of the answers to these things today, or maybe at all, but someone who works for your campus does know these things, and talk to them. Let them help you make your plan. Has anybody had a safety drill that went right or not right that they want to share?
And ideally not the ones you had back in school, like high school.
Okay, we'll do the same thing here. If someone wants to share an instant, and we will come back to that. All right, we also want to talk to you about digital resources. Just like we want you to know where the offices are on campus and who the people are that can help you, we really want you to be able to be aware of the digital resources available to you. Just like Theta Tau's website has a ton of helpful information, your campus's website does too. But as we showed a couple of slides ago, they aren't always where you think they'll be. So it's to your benefit to spend some time finding those resources before you need them. While today we're talking specifically about safety, take some time to find some academic resources and some professional resources too, and bookmark them. Then share them. You are part of a brotherhood, and your brothers will appreciate the work that you do. So for mental health resources, we're not going to recommend any specific sites. There are hundreds, and it would be impossible for us to vet them all. What we encourage you to do is take some time to vet them yourself. Is a website recommended by the American Medical Association, the National Institutes for Health, or the National Institute for Mental Health? Is the content backed up by cited sources? Does it seem respectable? And by that I mean, are the graphics wonky? Are there misspellings? Things like that would cause you to be suspicious. You should be able to find some websites that offer free on-demand counseling, but please check their ratings. We want to be sure to let you know that Theta Tau does not endorse any particular website, but these are just places for you to start. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute. So we can't stress this enough. It's not enough to make a plan in your head and then never practice it, right? Do you know the chapter meeting extra long 1 week? Pledge votes, hint, hint. Take a 10-minute break in the middle of it to have a safety drill, just to break it up. New P&Ms, new potential members, safety drill. Make sure they know where everything is. Big event coming up, practice the safety drill beforehand. Education on national policies and procedures starts during P&M education, during the new member education process. But again, it's not enough to share that information once. Work with your executive board, all your officers, to develop a plan to review policies and procedures with the chapter regularly. Add it to the meeting agenda every week. Make a game like Policy Jeopardy or Bingo. Be creative. Do a piece of safety information once a week. This might be the most important thing you do. Develop a confidential way for members to report when they have a concern. We've done a lot of investigations, especially in the fall, and every one of them was because one person spoke out, and almost all of them did so by requesting anonymity. Your chapter members need a method to report concerning behavior without the fear of reprisal, because you, as leaders, want to protect everyone. Share the volunteer structure with your chapter and P&Ms every semester. When you have a confidential reporting method in place, share that frequently. Put it on the meeting agenda, add it to your email signature, and if you need help, ask us. That's what your regional directors are for. That's what the health and safety committee is for. And we're here tonight because we're dedicated to fraternity and sorority life, and we want to help. Does anyone have a reporting method in place that they have already, whether it's anonymous or some other structure? I know that's actually a fairly common thing in our chapters, so I'm curious to see how you guys do it. Well, if you guys want to share, you can add it later.
All right. I'm going to take the last line of my script and put it at the first line, which is, can anyone share what your chapter does to promote the responsible use of alcohol? And while I'm reading this part of the script, you can type it into the chat. So what we're going to do now is shift our focus to specific kinds of situations, some of which you identified in the word cloud poll at the beginning. So this is where we're entering mitigation strategies, and we really want to take time to answer your questions and let you share with each other. We haven't been in school in a while, and things are a little different. So we want to start with preventing alcohol and substance violations. So the best way to do this is start by reviewing Theta Tau and the campus policies around alcohol and substances. But remember, I'm sure all of you know, the federal laws regarding substances are often different than local laws. Many states now have a recreational marijuana law that allows that, but the federal government still says it is not okay. So you need to check and see what's going on in your local area. And then have frank conversations with your members about consumption and the risks of consumption. These are going to be uncomfortable the first couple of times that you do them, but practicing helps. And develop a program for sober monitors or designated drivers. And I cannot stress this enough. It cannot be that the PNMs or people who don't drink will be the drivers. Everyone should get a turn, however you're going to manage that within your chapter. And provide alternate activities. Substances, be that alcohol or recreational drugs, can sometimes make social situations less uncomfortable for people. But take some time to think about what your chapter can do to help with social discomfort outside of alcohol and substances. And develop a chapter culture that supports responsible consumption. And make it okay not to consume. We don't want the members who choose not to drink to be excluded. Has anyone shared what their chapter does to promote the responsible use of alcohol? In the
Quiet group today.
Quiet group. Okay. All right. So here we're getting into really stuff that can be uncomfortable. So, and for this particular topic, we have more than one slide. And that is because within the fraternity sorority community, understanding sexual conduct and misconduct has been identified as an area in which chapters and chapter members are undereducated. And we will give examples, but we are not going to be exhaustively covering this topic. So, to a lot of people, we think everybody knows what consent is, but that is not true. So we would like you to learn about it and know that not everybody does know what consent is. RAIN is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and they define consent as an agreement between participants to engage in sexual activity. Consent should be clearly and freely communicated. A verbal and affirmative expression of consent can help both you and your partner understand and respect each other's boundaries. This next part is very, very important. Consent cannot ever be given by individuals who are underage, intoxicated, or incapacitated by drugs or alcohol. asleep or unconscious, under pressure of intimidation or threat, or in a situation of unequal power dynamics, such as a member and a PNM. So we need, or we hope that there are members in your chapter who can take this on, who can teach your membership about consent. Again, these are going to be uncomfortable conversations, but the more you practice, the easier they will be. Another thing that you can do to help is to understand the differences between discomfort, harassment, and assault. So, discomfort is things like locker room talk or making sexually based comments. Harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, including touching over the clothes and unsolicited pictures. Assault is penetration, contact, or even exposure of the genitals. It's a slippery slope from harassment to assault. When a culture supports activities like locker room talk that can make people uncomfortable, it creates a hostile environment, which can lead to a culture in which sexual harassment is acceptable. If members are being sexually harassed and no action is taken, it can be a small step for predators to assault someone. In Theta Tau, which is an organization for both men and women, it is vitally important that respect is at the center of your relationships. So today, start addressing inappropriate talk in your chapters. Other things you can do is consider non-fraternization policies, especially for situation in which a power dynamic exists. Discuss sexual safety for sexual encounters. Tell someone where you're going and who you're going with and have a way to get out. If that's a sign, if that is a phrase that you use, whatever. In practice, again, waiting until you need this knowledge is going to be too late. You need to practice your whatever system you have in place.
Keep losing my place. I'm sorry. So hazing is one of those things, and we're gonna have a hot take on it later. But whenever you do a chapter activity, it should meet a few requirements. But look at the activity and make sure it doesn't meet the definition of hazing. Step 1. Step 2 is there are some specifically outlined in the PPM of things that we will not tolerate. But also, is this event fulfilling one of the pillars of our fraternity, professional development, service, and brotherhood? Because everything should have a purpose. Everything should have a reason, a growth, and cause growth for your members. If your activities can't pass any of those tests, you shouldn't be doing it. You should also be fostering a culture of care. And what that means is actively creating an environment where people feel valued. It starts with connecting your PNMs, your potential new members, and members to our purpose to develop and maintain a high standard of professional interest among its members and to unite them in a strong bond of fraternal fellowship. So a culture of care is about making those personal connections, actively listening and mentoring each other. Take the time to talk to PNMs and understand their comfort level with certain activities, because not everyone's going to be the same. And this is sort of personal one, but if you have a story about hazing that you'd like to share, feel free. If you'd prefer to DM it to one of us, that's fine too. I'll give you one of mine. But granted, I haven't been a student for a while, but I had to do a scavenger hunt. Like honestly, most chapters have done in the past, and it's been a fairly common fraternity thing, which we don't allow those for the reference. But doing a scavenger hunt that lasted 12 hours, started at 8 p.m. at night and ended at 8 a.m. the next morning. Um, that's my fun, not fun hazing story. Uh, but I see no one, we don't have any that are being shared, and that's fine. Definitely a topic. um, so medical emergencies too. This is also part of that connecting with your members. Know and understand all of your members' medical information that they're willing to share, right? Do they have any allergies? Are they allergic to foods or anything on contact? Chronic illnesses or prior injuries? Um, and educate the appropriate members on how to intervene if needed. If someone's going into an allergic reaction, what do you do? Um, or if you have someone with a member with a chronic medical condition, ask them if they'd be comfortable providing some education on their condition, on their education on condition and intervention at a chapter meeting. If they prefer not to, you can request that they meet with the officers to cover intervention as well, just to make sure they're safe. Ensure that all the tools that you need are available and readily available and up to date. Um, Fire hydrants do go out of date. Or fire hydrants. Fire extinguishers. So good at this. So practice. I know you've heard it a lot. You've heard it at least 3 times. We're going to say it again. Practice, practice, practice. Think of this as developing a skill. The more you practice, the easier you can access the skill when you need it. There is some science that says even repeatedly thinking about what you would do in a situation can improve your response when an emergency happens. I do see we have a quick question. Scavenger hunts are considered hazing. I can kind of talk about that a little bit in the hot take later, or if we have time at the end of this session. But it's one of those events that is not commonly recognized as hazing. And then peer pressure. I'm sure everyone in here has dealt with peer pressure at some time in their life. What is peer pressure? Have any of you guys ever felt pressured by your peers to do anything? I know I've felt pressured to drink, to eat, to do whatever, right? To go be social when I didn't want to be. And by openly, oh my lord, words are hard. By openly acknowledging that peer pressure exists, you can create an environment that permits members to call out inappropriate pressure. So that's something we want to encourage, is developing that chapter culture. And kind of as we discussed before, having a system of confidential reporting can also help. Having someone that everyone is comfortable talking to. We're kind of also running out of time, so I'm not going to ask for any questions or any personal
Examples.
stories. Yeah, thank you. I can't think of words today. I don't know what's going on.
All right.
All right. Go ahead.
Despite all of these mitigation strategies your chapter's put into place, an incident happens. And sometimes you're going to need to report those up the chain of command. But first, address the situation. Do what you need to do on the ground at the time to make sure everybody is safe. And then, when it's reasonable to do so, contact your regional director, especially for injuries or death, violations of policy, procedure, or the Constitution, if law enforcement becomes involved, and that includes campus security, violations of university policy, if you're aware that was university policy, or just really anything that you're unsure of. Theta Tau has implemented an incident report. The giant QR code is where you can find it, or it is on the website in the top gray bar all the way over to the far right. So sometimes you'll want to defer to campus. And we're going to acknowledge right now that making the choice to do so can be really complicated. So to make that decision, you need to know the difference between what Theta Tau can do and what a campus can do. And really, to just be frank, the most that Theta Tau can do to a member is expel them from the organization. And while that is a really painful process for everybody involved, it generally won't follow a person around for the rest of their life. It won't impact their ability to go to grad school, or find a job, or to volunteer with the other organizations. Expulsion from Theta Tau does not show up on any records but our own. On the other hand, when a college expels a student, that interrupts their education and is reflected on the student's transcript, which follows them throughout their academic career. The transcript flag can impact acceptance to another college and may appear even in background checks. The question to ask is this: does the situation at hand warrant long-lasting consequences, or is a short-term solution sufficient? You might also want to consider cooperation. Who is more likely to be able to assess, investigate, and adjudicate the matter? Who will members be more willing to talk frankly with? The chapter's goals and the answers to these questions will help you decide if deferring to campus is appropriate. And finally, standards board.
Cool. Standard boards. So some chapters have this, and I highly encourage chapters to implement a standards board if they don't have it already. But basically what it is, it's a board of members that usually represent every academic year. It's a variety of members across the board. You use it when a member is not upholding the chapter's or the fraternity's ideals, and they're not meeting the minimum standards. Some sample programs. I would normally ask if any of you guys have it. If you do, feel free to drop it in the chat if you have a standards board. But kind of going into the university conduct office, I do want to have a little caveat. Every university is different. Every university's processes, procedures are a little bit different. So this is a very broad overview of conduct offices. But what they generally do is they develop, disseminate, interpret, and enforce the university's code of conduct, educate students about rights and responsibilities as university members. They also conduct investigations into allegations of student misconduct and oversee the campus judicial process. So just kind of be aware that those is part of your university process. They can do things that the fraternity cannot, kind of like what Jennifer was mentioning earlier. They also have more support networks, especially local support for victims. They also can hold hearings at the campus level and issue discipline at the campus level, whereas, like Jennifer said, we cannot. We are right at our time. Are there any quick questions that anybody has? I can address the scavenger hunt thing real quick. But basically, scavenger hunts, while yes, they can be fun, right? The issue is it is very easy to slip into the illegal, abusive event, right? And it's very easy to turn it into something where people are made to feel uncomfortable because it's a task on a list that they have to complete. I know I've heard of in some chapters where they had to film one of the guys buying, tampons or something, right? And it just makes people uncomfortable. So it's slippery slope sort of deal. That's why it's considered hazing. As far as good ways to implement anonymous concern reporting methods, Google Forms actually is pretty good for that because you can have it where it doesn't collect emails. And so you can just have it go to your regent or some specified email whenever someone submits a form, because you can actually see the incident report. I believe ours collects emails. I don't quite recall, but you can set it where it won't collect any information.
We have it
That,
rather than automatically collecting the emails. You can add your email if you would like someone to contact you.
there we go. Thank you, Jennifer.
And those come right to me. I check my email every day, even on weekends. So if we get them, we react to them right away. But we also did want to put this slide up one more time if you want to screenshot it so you can contact us later.
We're pretty responsive people. At least I hope we are.
We are stopping sharing.
So thank you guys. If you guys have any further questions that you want to ask us, feel free to email, Discord, whatever, and we are happy to answer them. We're just in a limited time frame right now. And then I believe you guys can go back to the main session.
Yes. The next thing up is the hot takes. So you can choose, you go over to the sessions and choose the hot takes that you want. You can pick from chapter officer transitions or habitat for this one. And the next one is mental health and data from Tightrope. All right, everybody, have a good night. We'll see you in the general session.
Thank you.